All right, we are about to get started with our next session. I have the pleasure of introducing our next two speakers for our 10 a.m. session here. First, I'm going to introduce Deepak Pitta. He is the CEO and co-founder of Space Age Labs. Space Age Labs is revolutionizing operations and maintenance of remote and distributed assets using wireless, Internet of Things, and machine learning, Space Age combines domain expertise and deep technology to improve efficiency, sustainability, and compliance in critical urban infrastructure management. Deepak is passionate about using sensor data and IoT and AI-based insights to sustainably manage people, work, and assets in the lawn and landscaping industry. He graduated from National University of Singapore with a master's degree in mechatronics in 2010 and has spent the last 12 years applying IoT and AI/ML technologies to solve problems in energy, water, and landscaping industries. We will also hear from Sashi Kumar YR, the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Space Age Labs. Sashi Kumar completed his Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics and Master's in Embedded Systems, with 17 years of experience in data acquisition and industrial automation. He understands the value of reliable data and the need for technology adoption. He is an engineer by profession and an entrepreneur by passion, and has always been a strong advocate for IoT and digitalization. Let's welcome them both to the stage.
Thanks, Jamie, for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. My name is Deepak. I'm the CEO of Space Age Labs, and I'm here and very pleased to talk about our technology and how it could be applied to the landscaping business. I also have my fellow speaker and business partner, Sashi, here, who will be speaking about the product itself in the second session, but I'll kick it off by talking about why IoT is important for landscaping, and I'll end the talk about how you can easily adopt it without doing too many changes to your current operations. A little bit about myself. I think Jamie has given a good introduction, but I just wanted to add that I'm a newbie to landscaping. I've only understood this business for 2 years, but I'm excited to learn more about it from you. But what I'm good at is electronics and mobile robots. Right? As a CEO, I don't get time to actually do any design anymore, but I have the pleasure of working with a talented group of engineers. So the hypothesis of why we started this company is this, right? Today, 50% of the world lives in cities. And in the next 20 years or 30 years, 70% will be in cities. So the way we manage urban infrastructure has to change. It needs to be more data-driven and predictive in nature. But you might ask, in a city, there are so many infrastructure. What do I focus on? Right? So I come from Singapore, and I don't know how many of you have heard about Singapore, but we import 60% of our water from our neighbors. Right? So water is really crucial. And we have 6 million people in 280 square miles area. So you can imagine the density of population and hence the importance of greenery in the city. But my feeling is it's not just about Singapore, but cities around the world will focus on these two areas more and more. So that's why we decided to have our mission of using sensor data and IoT and AI to improve operations in water and greenery. Right? Those are the two industries that we focus on. So our vision was believed in by the Singapore government, so they invested in us. National University of Singapore is also an investor in the company, and they invested in us to take this technology beyond the shores of Singapore. So we have already entered the Australian market, and we are here for the first time in the US market to talk to you about our solution and see whether it makes sense in this country. Right? So I'll be really interested to get your feedback after the session during the Q&A. So the best way to start would be to use a case study of what we have done in lawn mowing in Singapore. So we work with a company called National Parks that manages lawn mowing in around 30,000 acres of land, 250,000 and more job sites or polygons, a sizable crew, and they had different kinds of equipment to carry out the job, multiple brands. So their problem was this. They had no good way to track, quantify, and report completion within the work polygons or the job sites, right? So they had softwares like a generic fleet management software, but the tracker is usually on the vehicle, right? So once you park the vehicle, you don't know what's happening within the polygon, right? The other method they used was manual check-in, check-out using software, but again, it's a manual process and can lead to inaccuracies. The third method of proving that you have completed the job is taking a photo, but photo is very qualitative in nature, and you can't do much with the data that you extract from an image, right? So you need a better way of doing this. So the ideal solution needed 3 technologies. First, the tracker would not be on the vehicle. It would be on the person or the equipment that's carrying out the job. The GPS accuracy needs to be less than a meter compared to normal GPS, which could be 5 to 10 meters accurate. And it needs to start transmitting data as soon as they enter the geofence. Every second, this data goes to the cloud, and the cloud is able to capture data from any kind of source, right? And it's scalable. It can work with 1 machine or 10,000 machines or 100,000 machines. And the most important part is, what do you do with this data, right? So you use it to calculate the amount of work done, which is the area covered, the time taken. You can use it to even measure the direction in which the job was done, and various analytics that we'll see later in the talk. So this is where we came in, and we provided our solution called urbanEye AI to solve those problems and meet the requirements of the customer. So now I'll hand over the mic to my colleague Sashi, who will go through the product and show you how it actually works.
Hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet the landscaping community here in the US. We are all the way from Singapore to share you about urbanEye, what the use case that we're doing in Singapore, right? I'll go through a quick product demo. I'll go through all the features that the product has and this, how the solution effectively works for a contractor or for a landscaping company, right? So a quick brief about me. I come from electronics background. I manage the product in the company. And I have a significant experience in the industry. I was an automation engineer before starting this company. I just want to give you a quick teaser on how this solution works. Later I can dwell into all the features that the solution can provide. So basically, if you see on a high level, the system is capable to capture real-time activities on the ground. It is capable to give you more insights on how the operations were performed, and it is also capable to give you automated reports. So there is no manual interventions involved, so no workflows involved. We don't expect any check-in, check-outs here from any softwares. So what the solution is all about is to automate your activity on the ground. So urbanEye AI is a very powerful tool. It's a full stack solution. When I say full stack, it's from hardware to software. So we have IoT devices which enable data capturing from the ground. And also we have the software which crunches spatial data, geospatial data, and gives you insights. So this is the most critical thing where the automation comes into play. So this is a very high-level architecture where we have a device which will be onboarded onto the crew on the ground, whether they're humans cutting the edges using trimmers, or if it's a machinery or it's a bot, right? So we are agnostic to any of these ways of cutting grasses. So what we have is a retrofittable device which is wearable like this. So this can be clipped on to humans or it can be mounted onto the device. Or the machineries that's been used for cutting grass. So basically, this device is very powerful, pumping in geospatial data at a very, very high precision. When I say high precision, it is sub-meters. And this data is pushed to the cloud or wireless technologies, cellular technologies. And on the cloud, we call urbanEye cloud. So we crunch all this spatial data that we collect, and we provide insights to our customers. And we also enable them with the reports. So I just want to explain the whole solution in simple 3 steps. So what we need to do is we have to define and set up and capture. So how does it work? Define is more about creating geofence boundaries. So geofence boundaries can be plotted, so you can use the device and move around the perimeter of the location, and you can create polygons, geopolygons. This is one way of doing it. Or you can draw it. If you have a very good overview of the piece of land, you can physically draw it. Or you can also upload. So in Singapore context, we have Singapore Land Authority giving us the polygon details of any commercial land on the country. If the customer or the client has the details of the polygon, we have also the utility to upload the polygons to our software. So polygon is the job sites I'm referring to. So this is very essential to define where these jobs have been performed. So this is very crucial data for us to perform the entire solution. The second is the setup part. In the setup part, what we do is typically we define work schedules. If you already have a software for defining work schedules, we are open to connect them back to our software, or we are open to share our APIs as well. So these work schedules are very critical to understand, give more insights on cycle to cycle. So previous cycle, your performance can be right away compared with this current work cycle. So what we do is we can have work schedule set up. So the work schedule will have all the locations associated to it. All the location job sites will have all the metadata associated to it. So this is a setup part where we need to associate devices, we need to associate locations, and we need to create this work schedules. If you already have this software, we're happy to import this schedule to our software. The third one is capture. So capture means we install these devices onto the machineries. We capture the data in real time. So what we want is the crew to onboard these devices. There is no check-in, check-out workflows. These devices are capable to capture real-time data from ground operations. If you see on the right-hand side, you have this data. So this is more of, we have capability to measure the grass height, that's optional. We have capabilities to measure the location at which they are moving, and we have the capability to measure the speed on the ground. So all these are time series data for us, and we capture every second on the ground. So meaning if once the crew gets into a polygon or a job site, we start capturing this data in real time, and this is going to change the entire insights that we are looking at, right? So this data is very critical. We are capturing actual job done by the crew on the ground. So to give you a high-level feature of this hardware is built for outdoor works. It's for rain and shine. It can be used outdoors. It's an IP67 piece of hardware here, and it's wirelessly charged. It has rechargeable batteries. It can sustain for 20 hours operations. If you already have a battery in your equipment or your machinery, we can hook it up to them. So this is a retrofittable piece of hardware. The idea is it is equipment agnostic. So we can install it onto any equipment, whether it's a John Deere, Toro, or any other manufacturer, or it can be onboarded onto humans. Because what we miss today is the activity of the crew on the ground when it's edge trimming or it's a machinery trimming. So more about software now. So once we have this data back to the software, the first basic thing that we can do is we can real-time view where is your crew at any given point of time. So what is their last activity? What is the battery life of the devices that they have, where they have been working. So all this is real time. When I say real time, every 20 seconds our software will be refreshed, and this information will be available for you to understand the actual status of your crew on the ground. Then the other thing is direction of cut. So we do understand sometimes the operational efficiencies improve a lot if we follow a pattern of cut. So in any given job site or location, if you see, we can happily get the direction at which they are moving. So this is very crucial. It also improves your efficiency on the ground. So this data right now is not available in any of the technologies available right now in the market. So this is very crucial for you to understand how your crew is working on the ground and how efficiently they're cutting. So this is going to improve your operational efficiency a lot. So direction of cut is something is out of this software. And the other thing is you get a bird's eye view of the completion of all the job sites. So when I say bird's eye view, you can immediately see how many job sites are completed, how many job sites are in progress, and what is the status of every job site. So you have a pull-up banner, and you have a real-time dashboard where you have a clear bird's eye view of any given contract. You can easily see what is the progress status at any given point of time. The other thing is you can get into the insights. You know how your crew is working on the ground. So we have a timer-based pull-up thing, so it's historical in nature. So while they're performing or after they perform, you can always track back to this data. So you can go up to a level of the user or the crew on the ground, so how they have performed, how many polygons they have, how many job sites they have covered. So different job sites can be addressed and data is captured. So all the list is available here as well. So this is the insights you get at the crew member level. And at the polygon level also you can have more insights. So any given polygon, you know how much area they have covered. So we know how many people were there in the job site doing this job, and we have insights. So how much time they have taken, and which day they did this job, and who did this job. So all this information will be available historically or real time at any point of time for you to understand the operations on the ground. We have something called cut efficiency, which going forward, we think it's very, very important for you to go and bid for projects. So what we do is we give you efficiencies per work cycle, per location or job site, or per individual on the ground. So this data is very crucial for you to understand cycle on cycle how we perform the job. So we know how much hectares have been covered, how much time they've taken, or we also know per polygon 80% was covered. So sometimes we can allow a threshold, so we have to understand the location, because always the measurements that we get from the software is always not the true sense, right? So when we go to the site, we see trees, we see edges where you cannot perform a cut. So all these leakages can be easily visible, so you can set up thresholds on how to determine the data here. So just to give you a summary of what the software can provide you, so it enables you to create polygons. It gives you options to manage your assets and create work cycles. It gives you options for you to understand the progress created by your crew on the ground. Also, it gives you a real-time status of job done on the ground. And we can generate automated reports. The idea is there is no back office job. So the idea is we wanted to completely automate this and make this data available for your clients or for yourself to understand the progress on the ground. Yeah, that's it about the product. Maybe I'll hand it over to Deepak.
Thank you, Sashi, for that introduction. I think later on during the Q&A, if you have any specific questions on the features, we can take that. But I also wanted to talk to you about the business case. Why should you do this, right? I mean, the technology is good, but does it make sense? And how do you get internal buy-in from the various team members? So there are 4 personas that we think about. One is the crew member on the ground who's actually doing the work. Second is the ops manager or the supervisor managing a team. And the third could be contract manager who's working closely with the customer. And finally, the management or the CTO or the sales guy who wants at an organization level what's going on. So from a crew member's point of view, they don't have to do any manual entry now. So with this, they can focus on their job, and they just wear this and just go and do their job. So there's no need to take out an iPad, put some stuff into it, and it was completely eliminated, right? And there's no need to convince anyone about whether you did the job or not, right? I mean, there's proof now, quantitative proof that you've done the job, whether it's to your supervisor or to your customer, right? So it takes that burden out of you. From an ops manager or a supervisor's point of view, at every 20 seconds, you know what's going on the ground, right? So in real time, if you need to respond, or correct something, you can do that with this data. Second, at the end of the day, you have the entire data of how your crew is performing on the ground. So you could use it to train your team better, to improve, right? Because you have actual data on how they're performing. So you can use it for training or to improve your scheduling. There are various things that you could use as an ops manager for this. From a contract manager's point of view, auto-generated reports, so you don't have to do anything. So PDF reports, CSV reports, web dashboard reports, all available. We can connect this via APIs to the procurement system of your customer. So in Singapore, what they did was this was connected to the procurement system, and payment was released as soon as the job is done on that land. So you don't have to wait for the entire work cycle or contract to finish. So there are such use cases as well if your client is on board that can be enabled. Of course, there are contract level insights to improve your communication with the customer. And from a management point of view or organization point of view, one thing that I would like to mention is this complements your existing software. So we're not competing with the existing softwares that you have, and we don't want to build those because that's not our expertise. Right? So we are open to integrate with any software, whether it's sending data or receiving data. Right? So that's okay with us. The other thing is, from a management point of view, this data can help you in future bidding. Right? So we're developing some features where we can actually recommend what is the ideal bid amount based on actual field data, right? Not based on measurement of plot of the land or those kind of things. So based on actual field data, you can actually estimate what the accurate bid is moving forward. So that brings me to what we are working on. So these are the features that we have. So what are we working on right now? How do we want to improve the system? So one of the things we noticed in Singapore and Australia is adoption of robots, especially during the pandemic. I think 100% of the parks were cut by robots in Singapore because there was scarcity of labor. But the issue was there are different brands of robot. So they had Husqvarna, they had Ambrosio or XYZ, and everyone had their own software. So the customer actually wanted a single platform to manage any brand of robot, right? So that's something we are working on because we believe in the future there will be transition, at least for some areas, on using robots. The other area, as I've already mentioned, is about using actual behavior data to do better bidding, right, and more accurate bidding. So that's something more of a predictive analytics that we are working on. And the final thing that we really are excited to work on is actually to prescribe when to mow and how to mow, right? So when I say when to mow, right now maybe you're going every 15 days or every 30 days to cut, but based on the data, so we also have a sensor which measures the height of the grass, right? So every time you go on the ground, we actually know what was the height of the grass. And over a period of time, we can see if you're going to cut when the grass is not even grown, and you're just unnecessarily doing the job, right? So when to mow is something that we are working on. And how to mow is something Sashi mentioned, right? So you might have a pattern in which you want to do the job. So with the data that we collect, we can compare it against that. And if they're deviating from the standard path, we can actually tell you that there's something wrong, and you can optimize your operations. So we can, in the future also, based on all the data that we have collected from all the various equipments, recommend for this kind of, this shape of land, this size of land, with this equipment, what route should you take, right? So it could be delivered to the human who's driving the equipment or to the robot which is doing the job. So this system is not just for lawn mowing. Of course, we talked about that use case, but it's a scalable cloud system which can be used for any outdoor work as long as you have good GPS signal, right? So snow removal could be one. There are other use cases in other countries like road sweeping and a few other use cases. So this can translate to that. If you're a seasonal job where you're cutting grass in the summer and removing snow in the winter, you could use the same system. The other scalable part is we've designed the software to get data from any sensor. So it could be other use cases like depth of snow, what is the rainfall level at a certain place, what's the moisture level in the soil. So any kind of sensor data can be ingested into the platform. So why is this important? Because your analytics gets better and better the more data sources that you have, right? And if it's all on the same platform. Imagine you have 3 different platforms, one collecting rainfall data, one collecting, say, snow depth, and something else. It's very difficult to integrate everything and run analytics on that. Right? So that's another value proposition or scalability that we have. And some of you might be in the facility management space and doing other things apart from landscaping. So we started our business actually in the water and FM industry. So we do water metering, sewer monitoring, storm water monitoring, water quality monitoring, energy metering. So that's the other products that we have, which I didn't speak about, but if that's something that you're interested in, we do have those solutions as well. So yeah, I'll keep it short. So that's kind of who we are, what we do, and what our product is. You can visit our booth later on. It's at number 14, or we can take questions now on any aspect of the product or the business case. Thank you.
Deepak, Shashi, first of all, congratulations for rolling this product out and bringing it into the market. Yeah, I think we can all put our hands together for that too. But I think it was really appreciable that you guys start with the philosophy of keeping your system open. Right now, we've had softwares and different types of solutions come in that have like gates for data to not move out of the system. And so this approach is what we really need here, and this is seriously commendable. So I just wanted to say that out loud from all of us. Really appreciate you guys are starting from that point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, is this, you have a prototype, or is this in production now? Is the landscape company using it right now?
Yeah, it's in production, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. All right, thank you.
My question is in regards to the actual device itself. So you had mentioned, I was looking up on your presentation in regards to connectivity. So you were mentioning that once you enter into the Polygon, it actually connects and starts sending that data into the cloud every second. So we have a lot of properties where the actual cell service is pretty horrible. So we have issues with our own app, and, you know, them going out and doing stuff. So with your device, I saw that it was wireless and also cellular. So what happens in the situation where there's no connectivity? You've already created your Polygon. You guys are out, the guys are out in the field, they enter into a Polygon. How does it know, number one, how does it know that it's in the Polygon because there's no connectivity to the cloud? And then two, if it does it save it on the device, and then at some point when it does have connectivity, is that the point where it starts uploading the historical data?
Yeah, so it stores for 3 days, and then as soon as you enter a cellular coverage, it transmits all of that data.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more question. In regards to the API, is this public information now? Are we able to download that and take a look at it?
RESTful APIs, we have the documentation.
Excellent. All right, cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, I'll second the congratulations on bringing this to market. You guys did what looks like a really great job on it. Do you have plans to allow your clients to look at completion reports or have like a dashboard of completion? Not just a homeowner or an individual, but particularly managers of large spaces like municipalities and HOAs.
That's what we did in Singapore, because the data goes to the landscaping company, but also to the client, to their backend system, and they use this data to release payment. So they saved, so they had around 20 supervisors supervising all of this thing and doing back office work. So they completely removed that as well. So there are savings on the client side as well. So, I mean, you could position this in that manner, and that's an additional value proposition that you can propose, yeah.
So, as an operator, from my perspective, the two clear value propositions are more accurate job costing, because you know when somebody arrived and departed the job rather than counting on them to manually enter it. and frankly, tracking individual crew member bad behavior. Do you guys have any analytics around flagging crew bad behavior developed? Because all the data in the world isn't very helpful if a manager isn't getting exception reporting.
Yeah, so we are working on that feature, but you'll have to define what is bad behavior, right? So if he's overlapping and doing the job on the same piece of land twice, is that an exception you want to know? Or the direction in which he's moving is wrong, or he's using a quick turn more but actually doing a full turn, is that an exception that you want? So we have the raw data, but you will have to input that, and then we can highlight that. So that's a feature that we're working on right now. Yeah. Just on exception reporting, so if you go on site and you can't actually mow the place because there's construction going on, or there's a puddle of water, we have a workflow where you can upload that area onto the system, and it basically adds that percentage, because you can't actually do the job, right? So you should not be penalized for not doing a job where you can't do it. So we actually compensate for that. You can also upload a photographic proof for that along with the data.
Who owns the data?
Case by case.
So depending on the pricing
Yes.
and, okay, that's fair. Thanks for that.
So for those exception situations, like they can't mow because maybe an area is too wet, or they get too much rain and they determine they're going to, destroy the lawn, make a lot of ruts and stuff if they mow. So does the crew member, do they have the access to enter that information in themselves?
Yeah, so we also have a mobile app as part of the system, which the crew uses to upload that, and it uploads to the same system. And you brought rainfall into question, so we are trying to integrate hyper-local rainfall prediction. So you don't have to go down to the site and realize that it's rain or it's about to rain and you can't do the job. So we are integrating rain gauges or rainfall prediction systems. So in Singapore, we have done it because the government has installed rain gauges and rain radars to predict 30 minutes in advance where it's going to rain. So we use that data and inform that, okay, this polygon, it's about to rain, maybe go 3 hours later, or it's going to be wet for a few today, so just go tomorrow. So that's an additional thing that we're working on. So that's where the value proposition of having other sensors makes sense, right?
How much does the device weigh, like that you could put on a person?
It's around 300 grams. So, yeah.
So we don't know in ounces, but yeah, it's pretty light. So the initial version was a bit heavy because the users wanted longer battery life. So the main weight is the battery inside. Right? So we actually reduced it because it was causing discomfort to the user. So we have reduced that. But as he mentioned, if it's an equipment, we can tap on the power supply. So if it's a robot, we can take the power supply from the bot power supply. And if it's a human, this is wireless charging. So you can just, at the end of the day, just put it on the dock and it charges. Yeah.
Hi, what are you projecting for the cost? Will we own the hardware? Will you own the hardware, and it will be part of your service?
That's the reason we are here, to understand what business model works here. So in Singapore, we actually do a full lease model because so they pay us on a monthly basis for the service. And because they get paid on a monthly basis as well, it makes sense. But here, we want to have conversation to understand what might be the best business model. So we are flexible at this point. We have not finalized the pricing plan for this market.
Any idea?
Yeah, so if it's a lease model, it's around $50 per month.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.